'Cause with you I just feel so with you I just feel so with you I just feel so with you I just feel so
Hi, I'm Francois from Production Music Live today with Producer Notes, and we're taking a look at a Melodic Techno remix of an Afro house track. And I listened to something like that, a mashup on YouTube by Demero for Move and Hugel track, and he did an anima type, Melodic Techno edit of it. And I thought, hey, we have Melodic Techno stuff, and we also have a track modeled after Move here in our Afro House Volume 1, which is called Feel So Alive, with new vocals.
My hand and I'ma take you with me to places where you never been. You don't have to be scared, baby, I'll get you there. We'll just have a good time, 'cause with you I just feel so
And let's say we are taking this and we want it more upbeat at 130 BPM, and we want to turn it into this kind of, club banger melodic techno type track. So I'm going back to this Melodic Techno pack where we actually did that, and the thing is called, the project file here is called So Alive. That's what we're looking at right now. And we can sort of break it down into a two-part idea, which is where it's coming from. We have the vocal phrase, the main vocal here, in the build-up. And we're playing these EDM pads and arps behind it. Or I can actually start it here.
In the city, won't you come and take my hand, and I'ma take you with me to places where you never been. You don't have to be scared, baby, I'll get you there. We'll just have a good time, 'cause with you I just feel so.
So this is how we are getting the verse into this. We are putting these pads in the background, and then we have this build-up where we are sort of playing the hook of the vocal. And then we have the drop where the synths are taking over.
With you I just feel so.
And we have these simple rolling bass lines, and it's all 4-to-the-floor melodic techno, high energy. And this kind of works. And so let's say you have this idea here, and this is in the afternoon or something, and now you want to, play at the club at night, and you want to actually test this out in front of your audience. And now you still need to arrange it into a full track. And in this case, this is made, that's the quick arrangement overview here. This is made fairly simple, because we're just taking the break, build up to hook, and drop. And then we are copying that, essentially, doing the same thing here, break. And then.
In the city, won't you come and take my hand, and I'ma take you with me.
And then.
'Cause with you I just feel so alive.
And then again, second drop. And as you can see, this one looks pretty much the same as the first drop. And now with that, we already have 3 minutes covered. And the last thing we need to do now, in order to be able to mix that into our set, maybe on CDJ or something, is a simple intro and a simple outro. And it couldn't be any simpler than, just kicks and claps and some cymbals. And you just need that for yourself, so you can mix that into the track that you were playing before. Yeah, and then a quick bass announcement here with the 16th notes. riser, and you're getting into the first break.
You make me feel so enlightened.
Okay, that's the first part into the break, and then the same logic applies for the end of the track, where you sort of play the drop and then you just sweep up and go into the outro. Not making anything complicated here. This is a very simplistic one, very simple and straightforward one.
With you, I just feel so
And there you go. That's how you can, take your afternoon remake, mashup, or edit idea and quickly arrange it into a track that you can play. Break, build up hook, drop. Break, build up hook, drop. And then throw an intro in front of it, like copying your drum loop basically, and maybe your bass loop, and do the same thing for your outro. And you already have something that you can play at night. So yeah, again, this is modeled after a Hugel I Adore You versus Move by Adam Port, Mike Demero edit that sounds like Melodic Techno. Linking to that in the description. And let's actually go through the elements of this one by one after quickly listening to the groups in solo mode. So super straightforward drums here. We just need something to work with. And then we have the rolling bass. And in our break parts, we have the Reese bass. And then somewhere in the bridge, well, it's called bridge here, it's the pre-drop actually, and we have these sub-drops. And so that's our bass group, and then we have our instruments group that sounds like this in a drop part. So a bunch of plucks, and if I'm turning off the drop lead, so very straightforward, very simple. And in the break, it sounds like this with a bunch of pads. And then we have some strings coming in. And an arpeggio. Really just using the arpeggiator. And then below we have an effects group with impacts and risers. Crashes. And here we have something called a rumble, which is basically an impact. Okay, so let's go through the elements one by one, starting with the drums, starting with this kick. Clean kick with a nice thud below it. And this is the clap on top. And here we notice we have a clap with a longer tail, kind of like a trance clap. We are already playing at 130 BPM, so pretty fast. Rolling off a lot of low end on that clap as well to not interfere anywhere. And then we have a whole bunch of hi-hats here, sort of putting together our hi-hat loop. Like everything that's in our cymbals group here, you can actually think of it as a hi-hat loop. But we have this hat here sitting as the top kick. So this one, sitting on every second kick. And then we have this reverse hat below it. You just need a bit of drive in that one, and it's really modeled after that Mike Demero edit. So listen to it from the link in the description. It's a very short one. Also, it's only lasting like 1 minute and 50 seconds or something. It's only on YouTube or SoundCloud or something. And yeah, so we are putting together the whole drum loop here. If I'm quickly opening them all up, we have a quick overview. It's really nothing crazy. It's just standard stuff, but let's go through the elements one by one. We have this hi-hat here. Let's go with the faster ones first. So take a closer look at the velocities here. That one is pretty low down, and the second position is higher up at 100, and the third position is off. Fourth position is here present. So this is the hi-hat around your off hi-hat. This one only starts making sense when you play the off hi-hat in between. So if we are taking a look at it, omits this position here. And then this position is being covered by these 3 hi-hats that we put together to, you know, model the exact fatness of that hi-hat sound. So this hi-hat 2 here is combined with a shaker to fatten it up. This shaker. You'll find these sounds in the samples folder of the project file, which is part of the Melodic Techno Mystique pack with 8 other project files, and also a full sample library with 300 plus samples in there, loops and one-shots, and also combined with 70 plus Serum presets and MIDIs that go with each preset, and previews where you can listen into, okay, so what is that preset actually doing? You find all that in the link in the description. Going back to this drum loop, what's still missing is our 3 hi-hats putting together the off hi-hat. And I'm quickly listening to this one here. It's the analog 12. And this one is then being combined with, and so a bit brighter note to it, because this is fairly, you know, low down in the frequency spectrum, like relatively speaking. And because it's reverse engineered after a reference track, which is that Mike Demero edit, sometimes you see these kind of EQ curves that look totally crazy, but you know, if you're reverse engineering something and you're modeling it after a reference track, sometimes this is what you do. You would not necessarily work like that producing forward. But if you're modeling something after, sometimes you have to use the EQ also for sound design purposes. That's all of them combined. So this is not mixing. That's what I wanted to say with that. That's sound design. And let's put them all together, all the elements. So super simple drum loop here, nothing crazy. We are simply occupying the third position with an off hi-hat, and 1, 2, and 4 with a closed hi-hat. And then we have this other hi-hat sitting on top of the kick every second kick, and we have this hi-hat reverse sort of adding in a bit of movement. And I just forgot this right. So we still need to quickly talk about that, because that goes offsetting with hi-hat 5. And you know, this adds a bit of movement on that kick, so it doesn't always sound the same. Yeah, and it also gives that early flip into the sound, which, you know, adds a bit of groove. Because whenever that thing comes early here, you can also do that with claps and snares, but in this case, it's done with this ride sound, and it sort of does what, or it makes the clap more snappy in that position. So that's always a nice trick in the drums. So we have a sweep down here, simple sweep on some of the edges, and then here in the beginning we have this rim, So that's directly in the part where it drops. That's a nice effect. Also modeled after the original, and then leading into our drop we have this snare sound. Very straightforward, 16th notes here, slight alteration in the velocities. And then that one is turned up in the width here again for sound design purposes, and then cleaned up some resonant frequencies here in the mid-side EQ to position it properly in the stereo spectrum, in the panorama. And let's listen to the entire drum group. And there you go. That's our foundation for this track. And let's go over to the bass group, where we have the simple sub bass setup here. Make sure you're good on good speakers or on headphones. We're playing A minor here, 16th note, with our sub Serum bass. Everything here is Ableton Live and Serum, no third-party plugins. And we are basically playing ICANN has kick at -2 octaves. Envelope 2 controlling the filter. And that's already it. We are then really separating our sub-frequencies here by, cutting off the high information, and analog to that on the second one here, on the higher up one. We're cutting everything below 200 Hertz. So that is the cut-off frequency. And again, same wavetable. And it sounds like, yeah, we have a like a detune effect on top of this one. And what else do we have? We are just having envelope 2 controlling the filter cutoff here. And again, we are playing 16th notes here. And it's heavily sidechained. That is something we can already hear, and we do that by our shaper that sort of works like an LFO tool. So I'm turning this off. And this one affects sub bass and rolling bass at the same time. Okay, so that's our bass line, and in between we do have a bunch of stabs. This one is now rendered to audio. It used to be 6 to 8 Serum instances all doing different things, but once the sound was set in position, we rendered it out as audio because we are not playing melodies with that thing. We are basically always playing the same note. So that's a good moment to sort of simplify your, project file here. And, then it's getting a bit of saturation. It also gets ducked, and it has a quite longer tail. So let's play these together. And sometimes things can sound a little weird when you play them in solo, but at the end of the day, everything is playing in the mix, and that's always what's most important to listen to when you want to judge if something sounds fine or not. And here in this part, it's maybe not as audible. Let's listen to it here. Yeah, so cool sound as well. Let's go over to the re-space in the break part. You make me feel so. That's a simple Reese with a saturator behind it. Let's quickly look at the setup. 8 voices of basic shave saw wave here, and again one more centered one. And that one is a bit quieter in this case than those 8 voices. And then we are running everything through the MG low pass 22 filter. What's going on in the effects? Nothing. What's going on in the matrix? Nothing. Very simple sound setup. Done. And we are simply playing A, G, D, and F. And we're looking at our chord progression in a minute. And then we have this sub drop here. Let's look at this one first. You can already see this one is getting pitched down. Okay, let's look at the sound. So basic shave sine wave slightly adjusted, and what's going on? The most important thing is this LFO1 here that sort of controls the, you know, pitch, coarse pitch of oscillator A, and basically we are following this shape and we're, you know, setting the amount to up a little bit. That's always something you need to play around with and listen in, and then you can see it sort of goes from high pitches back to lower pitches. And that's how it can be nicely modeled. And you always have to take into account the length of your MIDI note here. But that's the setup of the sound. And what else is there? This sub drop here, what is that one doing? Yeah, well, that's a pretty short, kind of similar form. Saw rounded to square. And it's interesting, in this case it's achieved differently, because here we are not pitching anything around, but what are we doing? We're setting it to mono, legato and portamento high up, and then we are playing two notes, you know, and then we are saying, hey, we are starting with this note, but please start preparing yourself to play this one after. And so what it does, it's mono, so it can only play one note at a time, and the minute you're playing the lower note afterwards, it starts getting ready to sort of play that at some point. And if we were to take this longer, you would notice what's going on. So that's also a nice setup for pitching stuff in Serum. And let's go over to the next part where we have our instruments group and start with the drop, because there's a lot going on in this sound here. And you can see it's layered from 5 sounds. Let's listen to the first one. And then you can ask the question, hey, is that actually what we see here? Is that what it sounds like if I'm playing this note first and then that one? Something seems to be up, so let's turn off this docking. Aha. That's wild, huh? So this docking here is really almost shaving off the entire first note to make it appear wobbly, but it really isn't that wobbly. So first sound, what's going on in Serum? Just a saw wave and nothing really going on here. That's our sound already. And we also need to quickly look at our effects group. Here we have a reverb with 5.2 seconds of decay time on our return channel, and we are sending, you know, minus 10 decibels of this into that return channel. And that's where our tail comes from, because otherwise... Such a funny sound. Okay, second sound in Serum, which is also pretty loudly mixed, but tamed high frequencies. And now we are covering the sides. The first one was covering the middle of the audio panorama, and now we are covering the sides with 16 voices of saw wave here, heavily detuned, moved to the sides, and a lot of, you know, multi-band compression, all kinds of processing going on this sound. Well, I'm quickly, you can, if you really want to copy this sound from the screen, feel free to screenshot it. Nothing really going on in the matrix here. Going back. Next sound. Okay, we need to cover an octave lower. That's what this one is doing, with 11 voices, an octave lower. So it's fat enough, you know. Okay, next one. Noise will also be needed. Open this one up. And we are using alpha noise. Nothing crazy going on. In this case, we're rolling off low end from the sound, and we're taking envelope 1 really short with a decay time of 188 to let that noise evolve. And the last one. And this one is sort of covering our mid frequencies a bit more. It's a bit like a beehive. There's a little bit of a pitchy action going on. You can see something's being automated here on the fine. Let's take a look in the matrix. So LFO1 is controlling the oscillator A, fine, and B as well, and just like wobbling them around to make them sound unstable and sort of detuned. And yeah, and all of them combined result in this sound. And then we are, saturating the sound essentially. What this EQ is doing exactly can only be judged from the mixing perspective later when everything is already being covered. So not too much in the sound design to talk about. Let's take a look at these chords. A minor and 16th notes. As well, duct. And let's take a look at the sound quickly. 8 voices of saw wave here. And LFO1 controlling the filter cutoff. And with the mod wheel we can mess around with the attack and with the filter cutoff as well. So that's what we are automating here over time. And then later we are playing a chord progression. And it couldn't be like that's a very good one to quickly check out what's actually going on. We're in the key of A minor in this song. That's A minor. And then we are going on with G major. Couldn't be more obvious, like a G as root note and then a third in between. And then we have our major third, like with 3 semitones in between, and 2 semitones in between our fifth on top. And then the next chord here is D minor, but it's inverted. So we quickly need to bring up this an octave. And you can see D, this is the D minor chord, minor third followed by major third. And let's invert it back down. And the last chord here is an F major. So we're starting with F and then we're going to A with a major third in between and then a minor third in between going to C. So okay, and below that we are playing this stable ARP, which is stable throughout. Playing the third. So if we are in A minor, C is the third. Two voices of square wave and 2 voices of saw wave. And then we make sure it's plucky, so envelope 2 controlling the filter cutoff. And that's the sound. 16th notes, again, heavily ducked. And then after that we are playing and so this one fills out the frequency range and adds a bit more drive with 9 voices here of a saw wave, and this PWM medicine had 1 voice. And this one is only covering like some mid and higher ground here, and otherwise we are covering frequencies already with other sounds. All together quickly. Okay, and in the break, we have a bunch more things. For example, we have this string. And this is our sound. We have 5 voices of a saw wave here with slow attack and long release time. And then the filter. Yeah, we have this shape in the EQ here, 4.7 seconds of decay on the reverb. And the mod wheel controls the filter cutoff over time. This is what's being automated here and there. If we quickly look at the shape. So it's opening towards the drop. Okay, on top of that, we have string saw 1. And that one opens up over time. And what is this one doing? Quickly taking a look at the sound itself. 4 voices of saw waves. Basically, we are just stacking strings here to achieve a bit more rich sound overall with all of them combined. Right, and then we have the Pluck rhythm synth. And this one is a bit more reminiscent of a typical Afro House 1-note Plucks sound. And 16 voices. Envelope 2 with short decay, again controlling the filter cutoff. But you can also see we're driving up the cutoff with LFO1 here as well, always towards the end of 1 bar. Bit of multi-band compression in the effects section, also 4x4 delay ping pong, and the reverb decay time is pretty long here, 6.7 seconds, low cut on the EQ, and in the matrix we can see LFO1 controlling the filter cutoff and the filter drive as we just saw, and envelope 2 controlling the filter cutoff as well. And then cleaning up low end here. And some mid frequencies and some high frequencies as well on that sound. And then on top of that, we have this melody element. Pretty trancy. Sounds like sine waves, exactly. So we have octave 0, octave 1, 2 octaves. And how does that get the click? Again, you need to go and adjust the chorus pitch with LFO1 here, and then, you know, mess with the pitches of both sine waves. And that's how it's getting this clicky beginning part. Envelope 1 is controlling the noise level here. Let's take a look at what's happening there. So it's just very short decay again. How does that sound exaggerated? So it's that clicky noise that we are using. And then we are running that through a delay here, 2x2 with ping pong, 30% up. And then the filter cuts off high frequencies. And then some resonant frequencies getting removed here. And let's combine those all together. And below that, we still have this bed of this ARP. And that's what kind of sound are we working with here? It sounds like it's set to mono. Exactly. Portamento always up. 5 milliseconds. That's how it's getting this pitchy beginning part. Because if you don't do that, it sounds like more normal arpeggio if I'm exaggerating this effect. And what is the arpeggiator doing? Is set to con and diverge. And the rate is 16ths. It's set to sync. Gate is at 50%. Distance is 12 semitones up. Retriggers off. Groove is straight. Envelope 2 again controlling the filter cutoff here. And oscillator B is playing an octave higher than oscillator A, and this one is playing 1 voice, that one is playing 10 voices. Okay, so that's a super nice sound that in many EDM, melodic techno, and also trance tracks, this will already help you a lot in your break parts. And we have another chord saw sound slowly opening up here. Yeah, basically 11 saw waves stacked next to one another. And one thing I forgot, in this ARP here, we are like the MIDI is a chord progression. Kind of like a pad. And everything else is done by the arpeggiator, picking up these notes and then arpeggiating them. And then we have the same setup here, without an arpeggiator, an octave lower. Okay, and below that we have the sine pad. Root note A is being played here with some mystical type sound. This is what we're playing. Not that interesting. A lot of stuff is feasible here at this point. And then pad saw. Again, our root note and a saw wave playing on top. 10 of them actually. And that's just, you know, our tension keeping note.
Summer in the city, won't you come and take my hand, and I'ma take you with me to places where you've never been. You don't have to be scared.
Okay, so let's take a look at the vocals group quickly. We have a bunch of harmonies here. So that's the vocals group. And in the group we have harmonies 1. What's that?
City.
Like ad-libs.
City. You don't have to be scared, baby, I'll get you there.
And again, these are from the Afro House Volume 1 pack here from the track Feel So Alive. And now we use those here, pitch them up a bit more. And, you know, also warp them and set the tempo higher. It was at 120 before and it's now at 130, but it still works.
You don't have to be scared, baby, I'll get you there. We'll just have a good time, cause with you I just feel so alive, alive, alive.
Adding a bit of reverb on top of the sound.
You don't have to be scared, baby, I'll get you there. We'll just have a good time, cause with you I just feel so alive.
But there's another reverb on the entire group here. If we really want to see the difference this reverb is making.
You don't have to be scared, baby,
Okay, we also have to remove the delay quickly.
You don't have to be scared, baby, I'll get you there. We'll just have a good time, cause with you I just feel so.
So initially we are getting this.
You don't have to be scared, baby, I'll get you there. We'll just have a good time, cause with you I just feel so.
So this reverb already makes it sound a bit more stereo. And then on the group low cut, and we're introducing this delay.
You don't have to be scared.
4x4 ping pong delay.
You don't have to be scared.
You know, and then there's this sidechain here, and these are slightly bumped up in the EQ, these frequencies, and we are adding in 7.4 seconds, but at 10%.
You don't have to be scared, baby, I'll get you there. We'll just have a good time.
And then we have this reverse vocal riser. It's kind of like the typical reverse vocal fade in.
Summer in the city, won't you come and take my hand, and I'ma take you with me to places where you never been. You don't have to be scared, baby, I'll get you there. We'll just have a good time, cause with you I just feel so hot.
Okay, so that's our setup here. Let's quickly sum up what was going on. Let's say you have this idea, you want to sort of take an Afro house track, you isolate the vocal, and then you want to play it as a sort of melodic techno remix. So the first thing you need is clean drums. And it doesn't have to be complicated, you just have to have something that, you know, bounces and works nicely. You can always make it more complicated later, but let's say you want to play the entire idea already at a party at night today, so you quickly set it up in this way. Basically, this is an entire drum loop, and then you have a clean kick with a nice thud and a clap that's more like a trance clap with a longer tail. And then the usual sweeps. Nothing crazy. And then below that, you go with a simple rolling bassline with a nice sub separation between the sub. And heavily ducked through, you know, LFO tool type setup here, or something made with household elements, as we are using Ableton stock effects only here plus Serum. Rolling this off at around 200 Hertz, and then the higher frequency bass sound starts at 200, so they're nicely separated. And then the occasional stab sound in there in the 4th position. And that together with the drums. Okay, and now for the drop part, you need fat layers in your drop lead. And here we are stacking a whole bunch of notes. We need something for the mid. And that can be one voice, you know. And then we need something for the sides. And that's 16 voices. And then we need something for an octave lower. Also for the width, but don't go too low with that. You still want to make sure you're not messing with your bass frequencies. Then you need noise. So it cuts nicely through your mix. And then at the end, some wonky detuned sound. So that's how the layers stack together for this type of lead sound setup here. Yeah, and you see if you're only playing one of them, it doesn't cut through the mix anymore. So and then below that we have in the drop parts, we don't really have pads going on here. We just have these one note plucks. Typical for Afro house, but would also sort of support nicely in the Melodic Techno remix. And there it's like, it couldn't be easier to set up somehow. And later in the break parts, we're using a bit more stacked up, you know, pads and plucks. And because we want to get it done by tonight, we are not even drawing the arpeggio, we're using the arpeggiator here on the MIDI chord progression notes. And then below that, we are basically working with a whole bunch of standard impacts. And sort of closing that chapter quickly over there. And also the chord progression is very, very straightforward. It's in A minor, so we are using only the white notes on our keyboard here. Yeah, and it's not a complicated chord progression, so you're not overwhelming your listener here in this one as well. If we quickly take a look at the arrangement again, we basically have break part, building it up to the hook, and then have the drop part. Let me zoom out a bit more of that. And then, so we have the drop part here, you know, where our sort of main leads stacks are playing. And the vocals are sort of turned off, and then they later come back in. And basically this entire part repeats 2 times, and then you throw an intro in front of it with just the drums, then the bass coming in, and then you rise up something.
You make me feel so enlightened.
And you're already in the first break.
Don't wanna let go.
And here, by the way, we took the bass note constant. We did not introduce any chord progression in these 4 bars or 8 bars.
You make me feel so enlightened. Yeah, I can't help but look at your body and your moves. With you, I feel so inspired.
Kind of building up tension, and then in the second go around we're releasing the tension when finally the first time your chord progression starts changing.
Yeah, I can't help but look at your body and your moves. With you I feel so inspired, and I don't wanna let go.
Okay, yeah, so that's the intro, bass, break, sort of build up towards the hook, drop. Doing that one more time, and after the second drop you just have bass and drums for your outro. And then you render it out and can play it at your party tonight and see how people react, take notes, and then adjust and finish the song. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this little walkthrough session here. Feel free to check out the link in the description for this Melodic Techno Mystique pack, where this project file is part of. Also, feel free to check out the Melodic Techno Start to Finish Volume 2 course if you want to learn it from start to finish. As well as if you're interested in how to arrange your music, we have a new arrangement course, linking that in the description as well. If you're interested in upgrading your drum library, feel free to check out the Premium, linked in the description as well. And if you want to take a look at this Afro House pack where this originated from, I'm linking that in the description as well. If you're saying, hey, all of this sounds fantastic, take a look at our Everything bundle here. Best deal in our store, best way to support our work as well. I'm also linking to the reference track for this video in the description, so feel free to check that out as well. I'll speak to you again soon, and now we have a full playback of the track.
Feel so enlightened. Yeah, I can't help but look at your body and your moves. With you I feel so inspired, and I don't wanna let go. Whoa, you make me feel so enlightened. Yeah, I can't help but look at your body and your moves. With you I feel so inspired, and I don't wanna let go. It's summer in the city. Won't you come and take my hand, and I'ma take you with me to places where you've never been. You don't have to be scared, baby, I'll get you there. We'll just have a good time, cause with you I just feel so alive, alive, alive. Cause with you I just feel so alive, alive, alive. Cause with you I just feel so alive, alive. just feel so right. With you, I 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 just feel so right. Summer in the city, won't you come and take my hand, and I'ma take you with me to places where you've never been. You don't have to be scared, baby, I'll get you there. We'll just have a good time, cause with you I just feel so right.